Welcome to Behind Every Employer, where leaders in business and education from across the country share solutions for sourcing, training, and growing frontline talent to create the workforce of tomorrow. This broadcast is brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. To learn more, check us out at www.coabe.org or any of your favorite podcast sites. Now, here are your hosts, Anson Green and Jeffrey Abramowitz.
Hello there, Anson. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Another episode of Behind Every Employer, and I was pumped. I was ready for this one this morning when I woke up.
I bet.
I was like, yeah, this is a topic is in my zone. So I love that the guest we have on today is awesome. And first of all, how you doing? You doing good?
I'm just doing wonderful, and there's just so much activity in the workforce development world and education world. I've been in so many meetings lately with different businesses, and it's just always the story of finding talent. And I think today's show is going to really give our listeners some new ideas, perhaps on labor pools they haven't talked about or thought about much in the past. And we've got a rock star here with Jacqueline Cooley here from JBM Packaging. I got on a call with her to get ready for this, and I was just so excited because we haven't had a lot of topics on second chance hiring and that topic, which we're going to learn a lot more in the podcast here. And she is just a phenomenal expert. I know you guys go back too. You guys just did a presentation together. So what can you say about Jackie?
Well, I can tell you that you're going to leave and your jaw's going to drop because, first of all, it's these are one of the employers when it comes to fair chance hiring that's leading the charge in our country. And Jackie knows her stuff better than anybody. And we presented in Denver together recently at the NWRC conference, and we were able to we set the stage. I talked about all the facts about getting people back into employment from incarceration and working with people that are justice impacted. Yeah. And Jack, boom, this is how you do it. And it was a 1-2 punch, and we got some great reviews. And it was great working with her. I'm glad to have her on. And with that, let's get to it because we've got a lot to talk about. So
we sure do.
There you go. Jacqueline Cooley, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you all?
Oh, thrilled.
Great.
Good.
We're doing great.
It's good to be here.
First of all, I love the smile and the passion that you have for the work you do is just remarkable. But why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Jacqueline Cooley and the work that you do?
Yes, definitely. So again, my name is Jacqueline Cooley, and I work for a company called JBM Packaging. We're a manufacturing company, eco-friendly, B Corp in Lebanon, Ohio, right outside of Cincinnati. We also have a location in Cincinnati. JBM has been around about 35 years or so. It's a family-owned company. Marcus Shing is our CEO. Currently at JBM, I'm the leader of learning and development. So a lot of my work stems around our Better Lives program, working with our Fair Chance team members.
Fantastic.
I think we got to start with the very beginning. Can you tell us, JBM, like how long have they been a Fair Chance hiring employer, and or is this something brand new?
So JBM has actually been a Fair Chance employer since 2016. So it's definitely not something that is new, something that we continue to work on and try and perfect. But JBM really just kind of started doing Fair Chance hiring just out of a need. We had more work than we had employees. So our CEO, Marcus Shing kind of ventured out, and initially he was opposed to hiring Fair Chance team members or, anybody with a felony record for that matter. But soon after working and partnering with the Ohio Department of Corrections, he kind of changed gears, and we started our Better Lives program.
Well, I want to jump in here, and Fair Chance was a new term for me when we met, Jackie. And I'd like you to talk about, that population, like when we hear, fair chance or justice involved or second chance. Tell us more about this population. Some of our listeners may be sitting there saying, wait, I've never heard these terms. I'm looking for labor. I'm looking for workers for my company. So tell us a little bit about this, because you've got some depth of knowledge there going back to 20.
Yeah, definitely. So fair chance, some people call it second chance, but at JBM, we tend to call it fair chance because we're not just dealing with individuals who maybe this is just like the second time that, they need help.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're dealing with individuals who may have been, incarcerated, 3, 4, 5, or 6 times. So we're here to give a fair chance. Sometimes, maybe they haven't been to prison in a number of years, but, they have lapses in their employment history. Life is kind of, tossed a lot of just difficult situations at them. So we call it fair chance because we want to give everybody, an opportunity who wants to work a chance to do that.
I love it. Well, with that population, like from you're doing a lot of the hiring over there at JBM. Tell us a little bit about what are the challenges and restrictions they face when it comes to employment. A lot of times, I know just in my past working at colleges and stuff, we've got to be real careful with the industries we're focused on. If we're building programs in the employers, finding people like yourself was always tough for me here in San Antonio. Because a lot of our population at the college I was at in our workforce programs, they did have backgrounds that were really precluding them from certain industries. So talk a little bit about the restrictions and the challenges that this workforce faces sometimes. And then later we're going to hear about, like, what are you guys doing to kind of make that happen?
Yeah, so this particular population, they have a lot of barriers. So one, anytime you have a felony on your record, that can be just a barrier in and of itself.
Sure.
And, once you come out of prison, the expectation is that, you work, you take care of your, family or children, you have housing, you get a car, you have to have all the things. And a lot of times barrier number one, which is employment, in order to get all of the things, that's the big hiccup. And so, we're constantly telling people, hey, you need to get out of prison. You need to be a productive member of society. But then we have employers who, don't want to hire. So, people coming out of prison, they're faced with a lot of barriers, a lot of hardships. So really what we're trying to do at JBM is just really give people an opportunity, to work, to better themselves. And hopefully, more employers will do the same. We have a lot of work to do, especially in manufacturing. I think the numbers are like, we'll have like 3 million people that we need to work in manufacturing, so I think we have plenty of people coming out of prison, that could use a job. So why not,
Right.
So what's it look like? So I just came home, my story anyway, but I've been home a little bit, but just came home, and I'm curious, like, what does it look like from the employment end? Someone comes to you and says, I really need a job. What are you looking at? How do you really define fair chance hiring from your perspective, from the glasses that you guys wear?
So our first process is when somebody applies, we don't go through a background check or anything like that. Basically, they are referred to what we call like a Talent Tuesday. So usually a couple times out the month, we have where we have individuals coming in, and a lot of times we partner with several different organizations, particularly like halfway houses. So, technically you're still incarcerated, but you do have the ability to, work at, whatever job, we'll hire you while you're still incarcerated. And then we work with a lot of like sober livings and different things like that. So, people have the opportunity to come and work at JBM. And then like at our Talent Tuesday, what happens is they come in for the interview. And so during that interview, it's a 2-hour process. We have a holistic interview. That part is what I do a lot of times. So that focuses not just on your crime, but it's more like, okay, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What's been going on that led up to, this particular situation? What are you doing now to kind of remedy that? Who's your support system? What triggers and things like that should we look for? How are you coping? So, we kind of go in depth and talk about, a lot of different things that are happening because we want to be able to help the individual, not professionally, but personally, also. And then they have a technical interview. So that's going to be more based on skill. We have a peer assessment where they go out on the floor and kind of work with somebody who's going to be doing a job that's similar to theirs. And then they also have a short math assessment that they have to complete as well. Because when you are working as like a operator, there's some like different percentages and things like that you have to compute. Sure. So you just want to make sure that you do that. So it's a pretty, holistic process. We try and get everything. I love it.
Yeah, so I love the fact that the background check doesn't come because that's like the first line of defense for most employers that bump people out of opportunities because they don't they don't tell anyone until the hiring process is through, and then all of a sudden they tell the employee, oh, by the way, we're going to do a background check on you, and then they've started the job already, and now they're going to get kicked out because they're not going to hire the person for the background check. So I think that's a big first step for employers, but getting the job also has, you mentioned math. A lot of people don't have digital literacy skills and haven't used a computer. And I'm wondering some of those really basic barriers that stand in their way, even maybe filling in a job application. How do you work through some of those challenges with people that are coming home?
So usually our partners that we work with, whether that is the halfway houses, whether that's nonprofit agencies, if there are any barriers to filling out an application, they can help them do that. And then usually they can email somebody on our team so that we know, and then we can kind of check out, what they've done and make sure they're able to get in for an interview.
I love it. So person gets hired. And they're all sick. They're ready to go. What's it look like? Like, what is it that makes JBM different from other employers, and how do they work with people as they get integrated into the workforce?
Oh my gosh! So this is my favorite part. Okay, because
just lit up.
Well, because it's just so different. So I always say that JBM, while we're a for-profit company, our Better Lives program operates similar to like a nonprofit company. Yeah. So once you come in and are onboarded, now you're paired with a life coach. So you will do life coaching once a week for a half an hour. Then you are also able to do financial coaching. If you choose to, and that would be bi-weekly with our financial coach. If you don't have transportation, so that kind of works two ways. One, if you don't have transportation, we can hire you through one of our staffing agencies that we partner with, and so they can provide you transportation to and from work until you're able, to get a vehicle. But after 30 days of working with us, you can enroll in our Roadmap to Wheels program. And so how that works is you meet with our financial coach bi-weekly, and you're saving $50 a week in your emergency and trade-up funds. And so usually around month 3 or 4, you're able to get a vehicle. So JBM partners with a company called Wheels, and they give our team members vehicles. So, now you have a car, you have an emergency fund, you have a trade-up fund, and it gets even better because with the trade-up fund, once you reach your $1,400, JBM will match that at $1,000. So you can take your car, your trade-up fund, and the $1,000 match and go get something better if you choose. We have parenting coaching. We have peer mentors. If you're in like long-term sobriety, and maybe need somebody to talk to, similar to a sponsor, you can do that. So we really just try and do just a very holistic approach to our Better Lives program. We want them not only to have a job, but we want them, like I said, to be successful in their personal life as well. And we know those two things go hand in hand.
Yeah, Jeff, this sounds like a social service agency masquerading as a for-profit company, man. I love it. I love it.
It really is.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's really amazing work that you guys are doing. I was recently at a facility in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, with a company called Flagger Force, and Flagger Force had a very similar setup. They actually have a special division of Flagger Force, which is a national company that that really tries to meet the needs of their employees that are justice impacted. And they have about 20% of their workforce is justice impacted, and it's a huge company. But what they do is they actually have this bank where they have diapers and they have baby formula and they have all these things that people can ask for, and they get them free of charge if they need them, because they know that there's some of the barriers that people have coming home, and it keeps them at work. It keeps them so they're off the street and they're making a career. And you talked about a job, so I'm curious. How many of the people that start at that front line, that entry level job, actually have an opportunity to advance in the company? Are these real true career pathways for them?
Yeah, so we do actually have people who stay at JBM and, move on into supervisory roles. Let's see, two of our three main supervisors are Fair Chance, and then we have two of our leads are also Fair Chance, so they're kind of like an assistant supervisor, so to speak. We have someone in HR, who is also Fair Chance. And then we have some other people just kind of, throughout the company that, were Fair Chance and may have started as an operator and kind of moved on. So we really do try and, help the individual grow if they, decide that they want to make JBM a career for them.
Jackie, we have a lot of employers that listen to our show. And one of the things that they often say is, I'm reluctant to go public. Like the public perception of hiring people that are justice impacted, and they worry about that. It's a legitimate concern. They also worry about insurance and other issues of liability that they might have. But in your experience at JBM, they seem to have found the secret sauce for doing this and doing it really well. What advice would you give to those employers out there that are thinking about jumping in the pool and becoming a Fair Chance employer? And what guidance can you give them along the way?
So I would definitely say it has to come from the top down. So, it started with our CEO, and, he made a very bold statement at the time that we started Fair Chance, basically saying that, if you couldn't get on board with this, then maybe JBM wasn't the place for you to work.
Wow.
I think that's a very bold statement to make, but I think it's a very necessary statement to make because, you are dealing with, a certain population. And I know, people have different feelings around the issue of hiring people, with a felony background. But nonetheless, if you're going to do it, you gotta dive into it. You can't half do it. So I think that's important. I think the other thing that JBM has learned is initially, we try to, when we hired individuals with felonies, like kind of keep that a secret, so to speak. So you didn't really know, who was justice impacted and who wasn't, but that didn't work very well. Because sometimes they just have different needs than maybe just your general population. So it's not that we go around necessarily broadcasting that, this person or that person is Fair Chance, but our supervisors do know, who's Fair Chance and who's not. That way, if something comes up, maybe they can't get to work, or, maybe they're having a personal issue, maybe they're struggling. They can have those conversations, and a lot of our managers, have done like some psychological safety training. They've done mental health first aid training, different things like that, to kind of help them have those conversations that, sometimes they may not have with just your traditional employee.
I was going to ask you, so you can't be doing all this by yourself. There's got to be some partnerships that you have out there that are helping you. Talk a little bit about who those kind of organizations are and what they're doing to kind of help you build this kind of wraparound service to keep these individuals, get them employed and keep them employed and being productive over there at JBM.
Yeah, definitely. So, one of our biggest partners is really Ohio Department of Corrections, because not only do we partner with them at the halfway house, we actually have an apprenticeship program inside of London Correctional facility. So we have men who actually go through the program and are trained to be what we coin as an adjuster. So it's like one of our highest level people that, work on our factory floor. So once, they come out of prison, they can actually go into the adjuster role at JBM, which, pays, $30 to $40 an hour. So, it's a very, decent wage where they can take care of their family. And we also offer them the same things like financial coaching, parenting coaching, those things while they're in prison as well. So they're a big partner. Then also, like I said, Wheels, they provide cars. We have a few staffing agencies in Cincinnati, like E428, CCRM. They really help us a lot with transporting our team members to and from, Office of Reentry, City Gospel. It's just so many different ones here in Cincinnati that just really, come alongside and, either send us people who are in need of employment or, like I say, are just willing to help our team members in some sort of way.
Well, that city definitely has a reputation of having a real strong service network like that. So it seems like you guys are tapping it everywhere you can. My big question too is, okay, first off, how big is JBM in terms of employees?
So we have 150 employees.
Okay, so that's a small, medium-sized business, and you still have to run that business. You have to keep everything running there. This coordination work takes time and energy. Tell us, how does that happen? Is it just you? Do you have a team? How do you kind of make those phone calls, make those connections, arrange those appointments? How's that happening while you're still doing the business?
So, it's a team of us. So we're all part of the HR team. So it's a total of 5 of us who kind of run things. So, we have somebody for talent and acquisition. We have HR generalists. We got our life coach. We got our financial. So everybody kind of has their piece of the pie.
Their piece.
So it really comes together, nicely. Like I said, with everybody just kind of taking a little bit and doing a little bit. And then, once you come together, you have a whole lot.
Oh, man, I love it. Jeff?
It's interesting, too, because, I know JBM's a family-owned business. And so is Flagler Force, and a lot of the companies that I see jumping in the pool are those family-owned business where there's this empathy and compassion for people that are going through our criminal legal systems and giving them an opportunity when they come home, that true fair chance. And yet we have a lot of employers that are much larger that are out there that are still trying to navigate it and still trying to figure out what, is this worth it? And how do we go about doing it? And recently was talking at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and we were talking to large employers there that had really were very nervous about opening the door up and being careful about some legal challenges and legal issues that they had in mind. And the truth is that the companies like JBM are leading the charge in all of this, and they're showing the world that yes, it can be done. But what's the return on investment? Has it really been helping you find talent and really being a productive company?
So it really has. Actually, our return on investment in terms of our retention is really better with our fair chance than our non-fair chance.
Wow.
So When you boil the numbers down, basically, we start usually, if you look at just like 30 days, we have like about a 77% retention rate for our fair chance versus our non-fair chance, which hovers around 59 to 60%.
Yeah.
Usually over the course of a year, you end up with fair chance being around 25% and then non-fair chance being at 20%. So I would say like one thing that we are trying to currently work on is we notice around the 6-month mark, typically with our fair chance team members, is a lot of times that's at the point where maybe they've gotten out of prison, they're working, but now life is kind of hitting them. So we had originally, after 6 months, they were kind of done with coaching, but now we've extended that another 6 months. So we're doing a year of coaching with them so that we can kind of stay present in their lives. So it goes like, basically they'll do coaching every week for 6 months, then we'll taper down bi-weekly 3 months, and then monthly for the last 3 months. And so we're seeing that that's really, impacting our fair chance employees and really, keeping them more, at bay in terms of, just not so much fluctuation.
I love hearing that.
There's a great study that's out. I'm going to have to send you after the show. That shows that 6-month mark is usually when a lot of the challenges crop up. And those are the times where people often don't have the services that they need. But in that 6-month period is when people really find themselves needing to go back because they're facing challenges they find are insurmountable, or they don't have those coaching and those resources and support services.
Yep.
It's just remarkable what JBM's doing, though.
I love this ROI data. We see this, a lot of our guests have been, on the topic of, tapping immigrant and refugee workforces and groups like that. The theme you're always hearing is better retention with these other populations. You guys are seeing it. Many employers are seeing that. So you're kind of getting a twofer there. You're getting a new labor pool that's hungry to work. They've got a social service network they're coming in with often. They've got all these supportive services, especially after they exit. And then they're sticking around. Like what employer is going to say no to that? That is a win-win, and everybody knows it costs a lot of money to replace an employee, especially after they've gained skills and gained trust and stuff in the organization, and then all of a sudden they're gone. You got to replace them. So any numbers that really show better retention are going to really get the attention, I think, of employers. So listen out there, guys, gals. This is a pool to look at, because high retention numbers are what we're looking for in the business community always.
For sure. So I gave you a little heads up before the show that we're going to go into a lightning round now, which is a really quick, what do you have to take away? So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. But when we do, we're going to be tasking you with your takeaway for people on the outside today. What action step can they take as they close this podcast? What can they do to make some change happen? So you're listening to Behind Every Employer. We'll be right back.
You've been listening to Behind Every Employer with Anson Green and Jeffrey Abramowitz. It's one thing to talk the talk, but in the lightning round, which is coming up, we walk the walk with action steps. You can listen to Behind Every Employer podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or find us on your favorite podcast venue.
We are back at the lightning round, and Jackie, we're first of all, thank you so much for being on. I left that conference in Denver, and I was so enamored by your passion for this subject and for the work that you're doing, but the lives that you're changing are forever. And you're giving people an opportunity where they don't often get one. And just a big shout out to JBM, to you and your HR team for really wearing those glasses of people that just need an opportunity and changing lives. It's pretty remarkable. So the lightning round, I'm opening the door. Who wants to go first? What is it that you want everybody to leave with, and that action step that comes next?
I think I'll jump in there. I'd say for our employers that are listening, for sure, take a step and see what you can find in your community in terms of organizations that are doing this work. Search for this fair chance term, second chance, reentry programs. There are folks in every community that are doing this work, and those are going to be the partners that are helping Jacqueline and others get this kind of work done. So the first step is you're not having to do it alone. There's a workforce out there already ready and waiting, and have individuals they want to refer over to your company. Just do those searches and you'll find them.
Awesome. Jack, you want to go next?
All right. So once you do what Anson has instructed you to do, then I would say first step would be, if nothing else, hire a life coach for your team members. You know, if you're at all interested in hiring Fair Chance, a lot of times they're just looking for an outlet. They need somebody to talk to. They need somebody to help them navigate. So if you could do, you know, a life coach or a social worker or something like that, I think that will go a long ways. I would say that's step one.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I love it. So mine is this, is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you're an employer out there and you really want to get some talent, some real talent, that Jacqueline Cooley and JPM, they already created the model for you. They already have it for you. Their Better Lives model is really making change in their workforce. And I'm going to push it out there, but I know Jackie's on LinkedIn, and I want you to find her on LinkedIn and make a request to get more information about Better Lives and how you can bring it to your company. Because this is a company that's done it. They have, it's a middle-sized company that, can tell you the ins and outs of things you need to know. So you need to get in contact with JBM and contact Jackie Cooley and let her guide you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. But also remember, it takes a village. This is not, it takes a village to make this happen. It means reaching out to the community, and it will make your company stronger, not just internally, but externally as well. So I love it.
I love it. I got one more thing to say. Early on, and maybe we're going to bring you back for this one because I'd like to hear more about it. But I liked this interviewing. This sounded like, I think the gut reaction to interviews for employers when it comes to criminal background and things is they don't want to dig into that. They don't want to dig in. So what do? They do the background check and then they don't have to deal with it. You guys are going all in the interview. And that's really giving you the information, is going to, give you the yes or no on, is this person going to be able to retain? Are they going to stay 10 days? Are they going to stay 90 days? But you're not going to get that unless you take the step to really engage in that conversation in the interview, So I think that's something I want to hear more about. And that was when you first said that, I'm like, boy, there's a lot packed into that interview. I bet I need to hear more about that. So we're going to have to bring you back for that one.
Nice. Yes, it definitely is a lot packed into that interview, but it really is a good thing. And it really, people be surprised, because you think, well, will people even say anything? But actually people really do open up because they feel comfortable. We already know that, you have some sort of history and felony and, whatever the case goes on, but, we just make people feel comfortable. So,
and people need to be able to tell their story. 95% of the cases that are out there are plea bargained. That means people that accept a responsibility for something and took a sentence for oftentimes something that doesn't tell the full story of why they're incarcerated. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's giving them the voice to tell their story is so important for everyone.
Right.
You're a fair chance hiring employer, just a community, in your community. So we definitely will be doing some stuff on interviewing in the future.
I like that.
Slide on that as well. So,
yep.
Jack, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes,
for loaning Jackie to us for the evening. And Anson, it's always great being with you. We're looking forward to the next show with Behind Every Employer.
Yep.
You need to get out there and check us out. If you want to be a guest on the show, coabe.org, hit us up, hit Anson, hit me up, either one of us, and we'll talk to you and see about getting you on the show. If you have something great to share, we're always looking for bringing that employer slant to the table. So we love it.
Totally agree.
With that, Jackie, Anson, it's great seeing you, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Behind Every Employer with Anson Green and Jeffrey Abramowitz. If you like the show, please follow us and tell your friends and colleagues. This broadcast has been brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. You can find us at www.coabe.org. You can listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, or on your favorite podcast site. If you'd like to be a guest on Behind Every Employer, please contact us at behindeveryemployer@coabe.org.